What are the text numbers? 5 through 8. 5 through 8. Okay. Look at, there's a nice verse for purport for 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, there we go. So let us chant together text number 5. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Nimitan Yashratishtani Kale Twanugate Nrinam Labhyadharma Prakritim Drishto Vachano Jam Nripa Nimitanya Kya Rishtani Kale Twanugate Nrinam Lobhadharma Prakritim Drishto Vachanojam Nripaha. Nibatan Rishtani Kale Twanugate Nrinam Lobhadya Dharma Prakitim Drishto Vachanujam Nripaha. Nimitanya Rishtani Kale Twangokate Nrinam Lobhadya Dharma Prakritim Drishto Vachanujam Nripaha. Nimitanya Rishtani Kale Twanugate Nrinam Lobhadya Dharma Prakritim Drishto Vachanujam Trimha. Yes? No? No. Okay. Nimitani, causes. Ati, very serious. Arishtani, bad omens. Kale, in course of time. Tu, but. Anugate, passing away. Nrinam, of humanity at large. Lobha adi, such as greed. Dharma, irreligious. Prakritim, habits. Drishtva, having observed. Uvacha, said. Anujam, younger brother. Nripaha, the king. Translation: in course of time, it came to pass that the people in general became accustomed to greed, anger, pride, etc. Maharaj Yudhisthira, observing all these omens, spoke to his younger brother. Purport: such a pious king as Maharaj Yudhisthira at once became perturbed when there were such inhuman symptoms, such as greed, anger, irreligiosity, and hypocrisy rampant in society. It appears from this statement that all these symptoms of degraded society were unknown to the people of the time, And it was astonishing for them to have experienced them with the advent of the Kali Yuga, or the Age of Coral. Text 6. I think I'm just going to read the translation. Maharaj Yudhisthira said to his younger brother, Bhimasena, I sent Arjuna to Dwarka to meet his friends and to learn from the personality of Godhead Krishna of his program of work. Since he departed, 7 months have passed, yet he has not returned. I do not know factually how things are going there. Text 8. Is he going to quit his earthly pastimes? As Devarshi Narada indicated, has that time already arrived? And the purport by Srila Prabhupada. As we have discussed many times, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, has many plenary expansions, and each and every one of them, although equally powerful, executes different functions. In Bhagavad Gita, there are different statements by the Lord, and each of these statements is meant for different plenary portions, or portions of the plenary portions. For example, Sri Krishna the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, quote, whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself, 4.7, to deliver the faithful, to annihilate the miscreants, and also to reestablish the principles of occupational duty. I appear in every age, 4.8. If I should cease to work, then all humanity would be misdirected. I would also be the cause of creating unwanted population, and I would thereby destroy the peace of all sentient beings, 324. Whatever action a great man performs, common men will follow, and whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues, 321. All the above statements by the Lord apply to different plenary portions of the Lord, namely his expansions such as Sankarshan, Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Narayana. All these are all he himself in different transcendental expansions, and still the Lord, as Sri Krishna, functions in a different sphere of transcendental exchange with different grades of devotees. And yet, Lord Krishna, as he is, appears once every 24 hours of Brahma's time, or after the lapse of 8,640,000,000 solar years in each and every universe. And all his transcendental pastimes are displayed in each and every universe in a routine spool. But that in that routine spool, the functions of Lord Krishna, Lord Vasudeva, etc. are complex problems for the layman. There is no difference between the Lord's self and the Lord's transcendental body. The expansions execute different activities. When the Lord, however, appears in his person as Lord Sri Krishna, his other plenary portions also join in him by his inconceivable potency called Yogamaya, and thus the Lord Krishna of Vrindavan is different from the Lord Krishna of Mathura, or the Lord Krishna of Dwarka. The Virat Rupa of Lord Krishna is also different from him by his inconceivable potency. The Virat Rupa exhibited on the battlefield of Kurukshetra is the material conception of his form. Therefore, it should be understood that when Lord Krishna was apparently killed by the bow and arrow of the hunter, the Lord left his so-called material body in the material world. The Lord is Kaivalya, and for him there is no difference between matter and spirit, because everything is created from him. Therefore, his quitting one sort of body or accepting another body does not mean that he is like the ordinary living being. All such activities are simultaneously one and different by his inconceivable potency. When Maharaj Yudhisthira was lamenting the possibility of his disappearance, it was just in pursuance of a custom of lamenting the disappearance of a great friend. But factually, the Lord never quits his transcendental body, as is misconceived by less intelligent persons. Such less intelligent persons have been condemned by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita, and they are known as the Mudhas. That the Lord left Bhagavad Gita, that the Lord left his body means that he left again his plenary portions in the respective dhams or transcendental abodes, as he left his Virat Rupa in the material world. Any questions? Wait, I'll say some few things. That was a joke. Very complex. Canto 1. We're just getting started. So to understand, as Prabhupada writes, to understand the various features and expansions that have different functions, it's not easy for a worldly person to understand. It's not easy for a transcendentalist to understand. The principle is simple. There's a source. From the source comes everything. And one of the everythings that come from the source are expansions of the source, plenary expansions. And then portions of the plenary expansion. No problem. Because Krishna is the source of everything. And then those expansions of the source have different functions. Now he doesn't go through, Sankarshan has this function that's elsewhere, but Vasudeva has that function, Pradyumna has another function. He didn't sort it out and identify with labels the different functions, but they're different functions. And in his pastimes in Dwarka, he expands as these four. One as his first son, Pradyumna, and already existing as Sankarshan, Balaram, and so forth and so on. So, while there's diversity of expansions, at the same time there's one source. So the one source is working in cooperation with the expansions, or the expansions are working in cooperation with the source. And so one can focus on the distinction or the difference, or one can focus on the oneness. And to go back and forth between the oneness and the difference, it's inconceivable. Therefore, our Lord Chaitanya's teachings. So step back and say the same thing. Lord Chaitanya's teachings illuminate the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. Or, the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam are the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Neither forwards or backwards, either saying it, it's the same. They're the same. And to understand the same, it's not easy. Or, it takes a transcendentalist to understand that which is not. So it's not by our little binary processor called the mind, because it's achintya. The relationship between the oneness and difference is achintya, which means the mind can't grasp it. That's the meaning. Inconceivable. Or say it the other way. The mind can conceive of something. We know from Bhagavad Gita. The mind carries different conceptions of life like the air carries aroma. So over here, there's this conception. Over there, there's that conception. And that if this is true, then that cannot be true because this is true. And if that's true, then that can be true, but this can't be true because they cancel each other out. They're mutually contradictory. And therefore, to understand mutually contradictory truths, it requires a transcendental brain. It requires bhakti. And Krishna can give the understanding by which he can be known. While he spells it out, how this fits together with that when they're mutually contradictory is inconceivable. So in other words, it's through bhakti alone that the mutually contradictory opposites are resolved, according to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings. Krishna can be understood by bhakti alone. Very clever. You just ruled out people that aren't bhaktas. And they can not like it if they want to not like it. Or they can become bhaktas. And then and slowly through the association, through the medium of bhakti, in the association of bhaktas, slowly start to understand that which is mutually contradictory. So let's go back to the purport where there's different features that are being identified, the Purusha avatars, the four, and then simultaneously is mentioned as the Virat Rupa. And this alludes to the this little section. This little section is Yudhisthira is seeing omens, and he can read the omens. And the omens say, looks like Krishna has left already. Arjuna hasn't come back in 7 months, and there must be a reason. No, in a short while, Arjuna's going to come back and report to Yudhisthira what happened. Krishna left. But the omens are indicating Krishna left. And then in this list of the different features of Krishna's expansions, 3 times in the purport the Virat Rupa is mentioned. Because when Krishna departed, he left a form. That's not him. That is to say, he is not the universal form. He's not the universe. The manifestation of the universe is his form, but it's not his original form. So Krishna left so that, when the hunter shot an arrow, it hit his heel, it looked like to the world that Krishna had a material body, and he died with a heel wound. People don't die from a heel wound. They may lose a foot, but they don't lose their life. But he was hit in the heel, and he left a body. Why? To bewilder the atheists. Just see, he has a body like us. I was right all along. So it's to bewilder that group of people. Although by logic and reason, material bodies are not relinquished because of a heel wound. So Krishna left a body to bewilder the atheists. So multiple places, I won't go into it because it'll take too long, but there are multiple descriptions of the universal form. The same language in Sanskrit, Virat Rupa, but read carefully the universal form from Canto 2, Chapter 1. Read the universal form that was shown to Arjuna. It's different. The universal form that was shown to Duryodhana is different. The features are different. So that what does that mean? Now, which is the real universal form, please? They're all the universal form. They're just that the unlimitedness of the form of the universe is like the unlimitedness of Krishna. So he can manifest the universal form to different personalities at different times in different ways. No problem. With this feature being emphasized or that feature being emphasized. But the principle is its material form, and that means because Krishna's form is not material, the universal form is not his form. On the other hand, because everything comes from Krishna, the universal form is his form. That's double talk. Is the universal form Krishna's form or not? And it both is and isn't. It's a double talk. And so how to understand double talk? Through bhakti. So Krishna manifested this universal form for Arjuna, it's from Bhagavad Gita perspective, for a particular purpose. Because Arjuna wanted to see. And Prabhupada explains, so that in future, if somebody claims that they're God, a request can be made, my dear sir, could you show your universal form? And if not, then they're not qualified to be the personality of Godhead. Well, then the person could say, yes, but you don't have the eyes to see. Okay, give me the eyes to see and show me your universal form. So, around and around and around. It's an aspect of the source of everything. There's the universe that has its elements and has its form of those elements and their shape, and then they're withdrawn. So the energy, material energy, is part of Krishna's energy. And the expansions, the Chaturvyuha expansions, they're not energetic expansions, they're personal expansions. And then expansions of those expansions. And with different functions. That's the main emphasis of this purport. The different expansions have different functions. Now, all those functions have their origin. That's the source of everything, Krishna. And he determines which expansion, which function. on the spiritual side. And the spiritual side can then lend itself to the material side at his will, because everything's under his direction. So for a back to the purport, for a worldly person, as Prabhupada is saying in the purport, it's too bewildering. It can't be ascertained by academic skill. And the academician may say, "Oh, phooey, rubbish," and just dismiss it. You bhaktas, you're silly. And then the bhaktas may say, "My dear sir, it's not silly. It's an explanation of transcendence that comes to us through disciplic succession that can be realized through bhakti in one of the standard ways." So now let's go back to the section of verses, and they're going to end. Yudhisthira is speaking to Bhimasena, waiting 7 months for Arjuna to come back. Arjuna hasn't come back. That's not a good sign. Something's up. Has Krishna already left? Because he was sent with the suspicion that Krishna is going to leave, the premonition. So Arjuna, you go. Arjuna went. And sure enough, Krishna had left. And the omens were there, and, so he's deducing from the omens that Krishna has left. And sure enough, when Arjuna returns, Arjuna's going to confirm Krishna left. And when Krishna leaves, as the chapter goes further, the Pandavas decide also to leave. Their existence is to serve Krishna, and Krishna's gone, so they plan to let go of their lives, to go to the North Country and perform austerities until they leave their body and return to Krishna that way. Traditional Vedic kings or royal family members, they don't hang on to their power or their authority or their bodies or their paraphernalia. They're not attached. They're attached to serving Krishna, and he's gone. So let us go to where Krishna is. Prepare ourselves for that. That's how the chapter concludes. Okay, so discussion. Microphone. We have one? Look at this. We have 2 of them.
I think you already mentioned it, because I was just going to ask if there was any insight into which verses of the Bhagavad Gita Srila Prabhupada was referring to, which portions or plenary portions of the Lord those verses were referring to.
You're mumbling.
So you already mentioned it, but it wasn't listed.
You want to know which of those verses that
Yes.
are referred to,
Yes.
which form of Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Sankarsana, and Aniruddha do they refer to? I don't know. But my guess is, from commentary of Acharyas, they'll say, because Prabhupada isn't just pulling verses out of the air, he's likely referring to verses that are from Acharyas. And you want to do some homework before tomorrow morning's class?
Yes, I can look. I looked at the commentary for this verse, but there was nothing.
Doesn't say.
Mm-mm.
Which one did you look? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur.
Yeah, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and it has Rupa Goswami's as well, but there was nothing there for.
No mention.
No.
Really? Anyone else in the room has an idea what these 4 verses refer to specifically to the various functions of the expansions? Your next question. That's it.
Maharaj, on the same topic, in the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna says, Ishvara sarva bhutanam hriddesha arjuna tishtati, the Supreme Lord is in everyone's heart, and you surrender unto Him. He uses the word tameva. Instead of saying surrender unto me, he says you surrender unto that Lord. There he's mentioning the super soul. I was remembering that verse, before Prabhupada cited these, when he said in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks different verses to indicate different expansions. So on that particular verse, I remember hearing that, Krishna is referring to a person.
You're speaking, you're mumbling. I got the gist, but articulate clearly.
Yeah, so my point is, yes, that particular verse indicates how Krishna is helping a person rising above slowly. You surrender unto super soul, then to the personality of Godhead.
Okay.
So it sort of matches with this idea of Krishna speaks certain verses that indicates different manifestations
Okay.
of Him.
You're confirming what Prabhupada's message
Yes.
in the purport.
Yes.
Different verses in Bhagavad Gita indicate this feature, another indicates that feature. So just confirming. Different verses of Bhagavad Gita are pointing to different aspects or expansions of Him. Nice. Ma mekam sharanam. And it's Him standing before Arjuna on the battlefield. So it's Bhagavan, not Paramatma. But in different verses, it's indicating Paramatma. Nice. Well done. You have something.
Maharaj, we cannot understand through mind, right, what is transcendental.
You can understand what?
We cannot understand through mind what is transcendental and how.
Right.
So what is realization?
What is what?
What is realization?
What's the
through
target?
Through bhakti, we realize Krishna. That's what you said. So what is realization? What is realization?
What's the realization?
Yes.
That's your question.
So Maharaj, he's asking, if through mind we cannot understand Krishna,
Yeah.
then when we say realization, how is it happening if we cannot do
If
it
it's not through the mind, what is it through? That's your question. What's your answer to that question? What's your answer to your
Yeah.
question?
It's developing love and it's developing. We can see the symptoms of.
Okay.
That's what. But
That's symptoms. And now the specific, the question is, if it's not the mind, what is it?
it's the soul.
The soul. And it's a nice answer, because the mind, which is a covering. It's it's one of the 8 coverings, and then beneath the coverings, there's who we really are. So that is to say, there's a spiritual mind. There's a spiritual intelligence. There's a spiritual form, a spiritual ego, a spiritual self. And there are functions of each of those entities, but as one entity. I'll say it again. We have a spiritual form, Swarup. And that Swarup has different elements or components, and they're all spiritual as the form, the mind, the intelligence. So they're functions of the spirit soul carried out by those different elements that make up the spiritual identity. So the illumination, the place of realization, if it's not the mind, it means the material mind, then there's the same function on the spiritual plane. There's a conception, there's the understanding of that conception, so there's a spiritual mind, there's a spiritual ear, there's a spiritual intelligence, there's a spiritual form, and they're all of the same absolute nature, but different functions. So it's correct to say on the platform of the soul, and it's also correct to say one or another of the functions. Because, let's just say, one of the functions of intelligence on the material plane is discernment or discrimination, to tell one thing from another thing. This is this, and that's that, and that's a function of intelligence. On the spiritual plane, intelligence is also there. So one can discern or discriminate between one thing and another thing. So back to your question. Since the mind cannot hold the conception of transcendence, where is that place of realization if it's not the material mind? So the correct answer is the soul. And then one may also say there are functions of that absolute entity, the soul, and one might say, the spiritual mind or the spiritual intelligence. And they're not wrong. It's not contradictory. Because the soul is of the same absolute nature, the aspects of the soul are of the same absolute nature. What I just explained is elaborately presented, very meticulously presented in the teachings of Kapila Dev's Devahuti in the Sankhya section. So distinguishing matter from spirit is a starting point of Sankhya. But then you go to the realm of spirit, and there's divisions in the realm of spirit. Function type divisions. So one can say in general the soul, one can say specifically the conception, the place of realization is the mind. And then to understand what that is, that's the intelligence on the spiritual plane. So keep it simple. The soul.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you.
Anything? Give this young man the microphone.
Yes, Maharaj, thank you so much for the class. Something did come up during that discussion. During the discussion between this question and your answer. I was wondering, I think my question might even be almost the same as his question, but if it's not, then I'll just ask anyway. What would be the difference between how to understand this is my material mind versus my spiritual mind?
Well, it's like, getting an A in your Bhakti Shastri exam. You might give the right answer in your Bhakti Shastri exam, but not really realize it. That's the distinction. And because his question is, what's the place of realization? So an answer, a response to your question is the distinction is it's realization. It's like it's not going to change because it's realization. It's on the spiritual platform. It's not going to change. And, you may give the right answer in your Bhakti Shastra exam, but still function on the material platform. And not get the full realization. But once the full realization is there, it doesn't move. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Radha Krishna, do you want to add to this discussion? You're fine. Okay. Anything? Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Pimanandi.